It's time once again for another thrilling episode of Markout Radio. For the next hour, sit back, pull the stick out of your ass, and enjoy. Be warned though, smarks and internet know-it-alls will be offended, annoyed, and generally pissed off at what's about to happen to your ear holes. You've been warned. Now, Markout Radio.
That's right. Markout Radio's back. Dave Temperk here with you, aka Dark Fox. Whatever. Listen, it's been a hell of a wrestling weekend. If you are into wrestling at all, you've had a hell of a lot of choices this weekend for some stuff to watch. I tell you, it's there was the G1 that just ended in New Japan. There's the Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor. That happened on Friday or Saturday. Sorry, fuck. No, it was Friday. Yeah, and then NXT was yesterday. Jesus Christ, so much fucking wrestling going on. I can't hardly keep track of it. All right, listen. Before we get too crazy into this, I want to do some recaps of what you may have missed. So if you haven't watched the Ring of Honor stuff, or you haven't watched some of the other stuff I'm talking about, feel free to fast forward a little bit. If you're tuning in live, sorry, you're fucked. But anyways. Let's start with, let's see. Let's start with the Ring of Honor because it was actually pretty good. Now, for those of you that don't know, where I live in the middle of Canada, there's a couple promotions, but there is a few teams that travel between promotions. And I'm a big fan of tag teams, and I'm a big fan of these guys just in general. So, listen, today I'm repping. I'm going to stand up here real quick. You won't be able to hear me. Put the microphone on my dick for a second. That's right. I'm repping my Team Flex Appeal shit. That's awesome. Love it. Mike McSugar, Michael and Richard Clark. Great tag team. Really like watching them. So, anyways, let's move beyond plugging their shit, and let's plug more wrestling shit. Now, that being said, I am kind of still trying to finish watching, as horrible as that sounds, the Ring of Honor thing, because I didn't get to watch it live, but I'm watching it on the replay. And it's actually been a pretty good pay-per-view. I mean, I know not everyone is a big fan of Ring of Honor. I know not everyone's a big fan of New Japan, especially if you're WWE guys. It's a totally different style of wrestling from what you're used to. You see an awful lot more stiffness. The ring's got a little more bounce than in WWE, but pretty fantastic. And I don't know. It's a pretty good product, Ring of Honor and New Japan in general. And Bobby Fish, I've just finished watching the Bobby Fish defending his TV title against Mark Briscoe. That was a pretty good match. So anyways, let's go back to the beginning of that pay-per-view. Pay-per-view, whatever. It's called Death Before Dishonor. And here's one thing. I mean, there's one thing that I'm not a big fan of when it comes to Ring of Honor stuff, and that is quite simply all this honor stuff. Because I don't know. I mean, I guess I shouldn't let it annoy me, but it really does get on my last nerve. The Code of Honor thing I like, but they've been banging away at the at all this honor shit for the last week or whatever on their programming and stuff. And I don't know. It's one thing that it's part of your gimmick, that it's part of your promo package and shit. It's just another thing when it becomes like it's almost being treated like a lifestyle, which is a little bit odd, but whatever. Anyways, but the one thing that they do is they have Women of Honor. They have the female wrestling, and one of the cool things about that is that you actually get to see some chicks that wrestle, like really talented ones too. So the one thing that sucks about it though is that the Women of Honor match between Candice LeRae and Veda Scott happened as a dark match. Now, we've seen promos for these leading up to the pay-per-view, and then the pay-per-view itself didn't contain this match. So I'm a little bit annoyed by that because I like Candice LeRae. I like Veda Scott. I kind of wanted to see what they were going to do in a match together. And I'm sure eventually. Ring of Honor on their YouTube will throw it up as like a bonus match or whatever. It's probably already there, but I don't know. I wish we didn't have to have like a dark match that's been promoed. If it was going to be a dark match that wasn't promoed, that'd be something. That'd be something totally different, and that'd be fine. I mean, there's nothing really all that wrong with it. But when it comes down to it, and we're doing the actual show, and you're promoting the show and trying to get people to pay into the pay-per-view and shit, I don't know why, but I do find it a little bit annoying because, you know, they spent so much time promoting this fucking thing, and now there's no payoff now. So it fucking, like, it sucks in that way. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I shouldn't be that pissy about it, but I don't know. I kind of want to see them do more with these Women of Honor things to more seriously. But if you're going to promo something that much and that heavy, they've had both girls doing promos and both girls doing lead ups to the match and shit. And there's really no reason why they couldn't have had it on the pay-per-view, but whatever. It was on the dark match, so there's no pre-show or anything like that. So it's a legit dark match. If you don't know what that means, it basically means a match that's not televised. So Candice LeRae got over on Vita Scott. Sorry. Listen, it's not exactly a spoiler because you don't actually, like we've said before on the show here, that it's the endings are predetermined. So finding out the end of a match does not spoil a wrestling match. You don't tune into wrestling to watch who's going to win. You tune into wrestling to watch how the match goes and to be entertained by what's happening there. Anyways, then we had Dijak defeats Rush, White, and Kamachi. I thought it was a pretty good match. I gave it 3 out of 5. Shibata versus Silas Young, as you would expect, super stiff match. I gave it 3 out of 5. It was good. I don't mind a stiff match every now and then. It was super stiff. Chaos, the team of Chaos defeats the Bullet Club, members of Takahashi, Tonga, and Loa. I'm a big fan of Tonga. I really like him. That one I gave 3.5 out of 5. That was pretty good. There was Paige versus Briscoe. That was Mark Briscoe. It was a pretty brutal match. There was this point, and we were talking about it last night. Canadian Glenn had me on the show again, and we were talking about SummerSlam, but we also started talking a little bit about Ring of Honor, and Derek had mentioned that the noose was a little over the top, and I kind of wondered exactly what he was talking about, but after watching this match, I gotta agree that noose was that noose was pretty crazy. Then you had Okada defeating Dalton Castle. I'm a big fan of Dalton Castle. I like Okada. I don't know what it was, though, but they just didn't seem to be on the same gear. The most entertaining thing about the match was when Okada pulled the boys into the ring and they helped do a couple moves against Dalton Castle. But other than that, the match was pretty... Like, the wrestlers are good and they wrestle well, but they didn't wrestle well together in this match. I know that sounds brutal, but they just didn't. But I just finished saying, I just finished watching the Fish Briscoe match. Nice long match, lots of chains, lots of interesting close finishes and shit. Oh, it was good. I really enjoyed that. And Bobby Fish retains. And I'm not going to talk about these last two matches because, like I said, I'm actually kind of still watching them. So if they're done by the time the show's done, then I'll give you my opinion on it. I'm sort of watching it out of the corner of my eye, trying not to ignore you guys. You know, like a professional. All right. Anyways, but there's the last two matches, tag team titles, Addiction versus Tanahashi and Elgin. I'm a huge fan of Tanahashi. Just love his look and the whole persona and his presence and everything. So fucking cool. And Naito and Evil are the other team. I don't mind them either. I really like Naito. I like when he does his little round eye thing. Oh, it's a little bit of a thing where you're kind of like, I think that's racist, but I'm not sure if that's racist. No, it's definitely racist, and he just gets away with it over and over again. It's very cool. But anyways, and then the last match will be for the world title. Adam Cole repping the Bullet Club, taking on Jay Lethal, who's had the title for fucking ever. And we talked about the results last night, but I won't talk about them today until there's actually a result. Oh, okay, I'll tell you. Cole beat him. And Addiction beat the other two teams. I still want to see the matches, though. I found out the results last night, and I still want to see the matches. So there you go. The other thing I've been occupying my time with is catching up on all the PWG shit that I've been missing. It's been a busy-ass summer for me, so I haven't always been able to watch the pay-per-views as they happen. So I got to kind of watch them. I got to kind of get the DVDs afterwards and watch them afterwards. So I the last one I watched, and this was I think last week before the show or whatever, but was PWG All-Star Weekend. It's a 2-night event. It's a couple hours a night, and it was it aired live back in March. The DVD came out a couple months ago, and it just sat there. Didn't get a chance to watch it, but I finally got a chance to watch it, and very, very good. I'm a big fan of PWG. Don't get me wrong, the fans are insane. I mean, the fans are even more insane than Ring of Honor fans. Plus, there's no barricade between the fans and the ring. So I love taking my kid to wrestling, and there's no reason why I wouldn't take him to most wrestling shows. But when there's like literally no barrier between them and the ring, I just have this nightmare of some guy doing a plancha through the ropes or something and just takes my kid out or something. Like, it'd be one thing if they hit me, but if they hit my kid, I think I'd feel pretty shitty, and I'm sure they'd feel shitty too. But anyways, the All-Star Weekend, the climax of the whole thing was Jack Sabre winning the title, winning the PWG World Championship. And here's the reason why it was a highlight. He's a tiny little guy, like he's tiny, and he's got that really stiff British style of wrestling. So, you see a lot of the stiffness that he does, and you kind of just, I don't know, you kind of wonder if he's not going to get, stiffed right back. But no, pretty good. Really enjoyed the pay-per-views. They were interesting anyways, and like I said, the fans are fucking out of their minds. It's actually pretty hilarious. I really like watching that. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about, I didn't get to it last week because I kind of got stuck talking about... the Lucha Underground season finale because it was pretty fucking amazing. But I've been listening a lot to Jim Cornette's podcast. I know not everyone. I know a lot of people actually don't like Jim Cornette, and I understand why. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way. He loves really, really old school wrestling. He's such a proponent of old school wrestling that there's no room for anything new at all. And I understand where he's coming from. I mean, a lot of people really harken back to the Attitude Era and call that the best wrestling was. And I don't want to judge them or anything on it because it's their opinion and whatever. But my big problem with Jim Cornette's view on the wrestling world is if it was up to him, nothing would ever change. And that's, I don't know, man. Like, wrestling changed a lot since the Carney days. I mean, from the time when it was like strongmen being dicks to the big guys in these little towns that they would go through to where it is now. I mean, it's changed a lot, and wanting it to be the way it was just kind of completely ignores all the progress that's like, because here's the thing. What's really entertaining about wrestling to a lot of people are chain moves. And there was no such thing as chain moves back in the day. There just wasn't. There was headlocks, there were airplanes, there were maybe some scissors and a bear hug or something like that. 0 chair shots, 0 over the top ropes, 0 flippy flips. And I mean, that's something that brought a lot of fans to wrestling, was all the flips and stuff. And before that, it was just like the toothless retards that stayed around after the circus was over, that was what appealed to them. So I don't know. It's I just don't want it to be the way it was. But the thing I was listening to on that, and he's had a couple episodes since, but he was at NWA event, and he had Dr. Tom Pritchard and Tammy Sitch and another wrestler that I don't really know as sort of a panel. And I don't know, a lot of people, Pritchard rubs them the wrong way too, but he seems like a nice enough guy. I guess he throws people under the bus a little too easily, so people kind of just don't really like him. And I understand that. It's a lot of people don't like a lot of the people that throw others under the bus. They find it to be a little fucking cutthroated and stuff. But let's keep in mind this is wrestling, and that's just sort of the way things go. Now, Tammy Sitch, I can't even say that she made my penis happy at one time. You know, like at least I can say with Eva Marie that she makes my penis happy. At least I can say with a few other divas that also wrestle that they were, you know, hot or did something for me or whatever. But she never ever did something to me. She just reeks of being a cunt. I never looked at her and thought, oh, this is a nice girl, or, oh, this is an interesting lady. I've always looked at her and thought, oh God, this is one of those broads that's way more trouble than she's worth. And she is, because it's been covered many a time that she's a gold digging whore. So I don't know why Jim Cornette brought her out, because he's gone on record as saying that he fucking hates her quite a few times. So, you know, maybe they made up or whatever, but I don't know. It just seems to me like if he's going to bring her on there after he's destroyed her and cut shoots on her and shit everywhere, it's not long before he's doing a fucking podcast or something with Russo, who he fucking despises and claims he'll never do something with. So I don't know. It's one of those weird things, but the one thing about Tammy Sitch is that, you know, I've never really enjoyed her very much, but at least she banged a lot of wrestlers that I am interested in. So I would tune in to a lot of her shoot interviews and shit, just hoping to get a little, I don't know, little insight into the wrestlers that I did like. I mean, she's banging Sean, she was banging Brad, she was banging pretty much everyone in the clique, and allegedly the Road Warriors and shit and Legion of Doom or whatever. But you know, you tune into those things to get a little interest, you know, get a little information that's of interest or whatever. But the first thing I watched of hers was her Breaking Kayfabe interview with Sean Oliver. Now, if you go back in the archives, I actually interviewed Sean Oliver back when the show was first on the air, and I did ask him about her and about the lying and stuff, and he didn't think that she was telling the truth even during his Breaking Kayfabe commentary. And, you know, I brought up that she said during her interview that she lies to all the shoot interview people, because why give them any information? Why feed the beast or whatever? And then she sort of quickly covered up and said, well, except you. And, you know, he didn't buy that shit either. He assumed that she was lying through her teeth to him too. And he went as far as to say so during the interview. So that was interesting. But like, she flat out says that she lies all the time to keep people guessing and shit. So I don't know. It's just annoying. And other than her fucking stories and stuff, Jim Cornette's episode, the NWA Fan Fest episode, was pretty good. Now, I want to touch on this really quick, like ridiculously fast. I literally want to read the sentence I wrote and then like move on. But I feel like I'm gonna probably puke a little bit in my mouth. So just, you know, if it sounds like I'm trying to not puke, then just, you know, bear with me for a little bit here. Now, E is the probably worst cable channel in all of human history, and will probably go down as the single reason why young girls specifically are born and bred to be bimbos. Wow, that came out even harsher than I thought it was gonna. All right, now E airs, of course, the Total Divas show, which I refuse to watch because it's fucking horrible. It's not reality television, and it's not even fake wrestling television, because they're doing that whole blurring the lines thing. It's a really fucking annoying show. Now that being said, E has greenlit a new show that would be starring the Bella twins, Nikki and Brie, of course. Here's a little bit of surprise. It will be with John Cena and Daniel Bryan as the two couples move into a house together, and that is what the show will be about. These four people living together in a house. And it's going to be called Total Bellas. And it's going to start airing on October the 5th. There. Jesus. Almost. I legitimately almost. All right. Now, now I can move on, to my boy Ryback. So Ryback was officially released, middle of August, and, did so by releasing a, I don't know, like a "you're driving in my car with me" type video, while on the road or something like that. He's now taking indie bookings for an average of $4,500 a show. Now, he will offer discounts if he's booked for more than one night. So if he were to be booked for like a weekend or a tour, he will accept a discount. So, yeah, and some of the indie promotions were charged more than $5,000. So, like most indie promotions, average like a $500. I'm gonna go high. I'm gonna say a $500, or a 500 person crowd. So if there was a 500 person crowd and they charged $10 a head, they have now paid Ryback and nobody else on the card. But here's the thing, Ryback, one of his gripes in the WWE was that he was of a mind that if you were wrestling in a match, that both wrestlers in that match should be paid the same. So if you were wrestling John Cena and people paid to see the pay-per-view to see Ryback versus John Cena, that both John Cena and Ryback should get the same amount of money because, and this is true, that he said because people are tuning in to see John Cena versus Ryback. They're not tuning in to see John Cena. They're tuning in to see John Cena and Ryback fight. Now, they might be tuning in to see Ryback win. They might be tuning in to see John Cena win. But you can't be sure. What they are tuning in, according to him, to see is Ryback versus John Cena. So, in his mind anyways, wrestlers should be paid the same money. Now, that might be, I mean, I guess you could make that argument, but I want all of you wrestling fans to remember that there are things in the wrestling world called jobbers. And usually when you're building up a new huge babyface, or if you're building up a new huge monster, you run them through a shit ton of jobbers. So while you're paying a wrestler 100 and whatever 20 to be on the main contract or main roster, paying them 120 grand a year, while they're facing a jobber, that jobber should be making the same money as the monster or as the new babyface, according to Ryback. So my question is, he is now going to be going on to these indie promotions and he wants to be paid $4,500 a night. So whoever faces him, do they also get $4,500 a night? Because, I mean, stick to your guns, Ryback. They're not coming to see you. They're coming to see you versus Mr. X. They're coming to see you versus Fat X Booker guy. Come on, dude. I'm curious to see that, because when he's been taken to task on Twitter for saying that, and now that he's going off to these indie promotions, a lot of people have said, so are you going to be taking a pay cut? Are you going to be giving them part of your purse? Are you going to be expecting that your opponents are going to be making that kind of coin? And he either ignores them until people get really under his skin and then he blows up at them, or he literally just makes excuses saying that that's not what he said, which of course it is. Now, in addition to getting shit canned, mostly for just having a bad fucking attitude, but in addition to getting shit canned, he will be releasing a motivational book. So look out for that, I guess. And a a line of supplements for weight training and fitness, and he'll be doing seminars on weight training and fitness. I mean, yeah, I guess that'd be interesting to some people, but like, I listen. I enjoy Penn and Teller, and I enjoyed their show Bullshit. And when they did the weight loss episode, they went over how much genetics plays in how you look physically, and you can only look as so good as your genetics will dictate. So while Ryback is definitely a specimen, if you take his supplements and go to his seminars, it's very unlikely you're going to end up looking like Ryback. Let's be honest. Let's just call a spade here. A Canadian Glen in chat. Ryback beef cake pills. Beef cake! I wish I had that one on. I don't have that one on here. I have the Respect My Authority one on my soundboard, but not that one. That's a good one, though. I should bring that up. Now, some dirt sheets are also claiming that Ryback is in talks with New Japan, that they're working on coming to terms, and it's unclear as to what the terms are going to be, whether he's going to be brought in as a regular contracted wrestler, if he's just going to get brought in for a tour or what. Let's realistically, if New Japan were to bring him in, Jesus, that almost puking thing's coming back to haunt me. If they do bring him in, I can't see them using him for more than just a tour. I mean, here's the other thing is that New Japan is notorious for being stiff, like a super stiff territory. And while that's not a horrible thing, because like Michael Elgin gets over really well there, Davey Boy Smith Jr. gets over really well there, and they adapt to the stiff style. But I can't see somebody that is constantly bitching and moaning about everything. I just can't see that person being someone that New Japan's going to want around for any length of time. I mean, let's be honest. Now, listen, I think Ryback's got a good look. I think he could have worked on his wrestling a little bit more. I think he's reasonably interesting on a microphone. I mean, listen, let's not kid around here. He's not the best either on a microphone, but I just think that a lot of these wrestlers need to keep in mind that the WWE is the show in so much as that's where you make the most amount of money. That's not where the best wrestling happens. That's not where the best storylines are happening. That's not where, the greatest stuff is going on, but it is where you make the most amount of money. Now, that being said, is that a reason to actually want to be in the WWE? I don't know. That's something everybody has to figure out on their own, is if they want to actually be there. I mean, Cody Rhodes is doing a fairly decent job on the indies right now. Others have done really well in the indies. Chris Hero went back to the indies, and he's now also a promoter and a booker and everything too. So, I mean, it is possible to make a living on the indie scene because you are, getting a fairly decent chunk of audience. I mean, PWG get more than 500 people to show up for shows, so it is possible to actually do that. But you're never just, when you're in the WWE, you get to travel from city to city with other guys, and so the idea here is that you can eat a little of that cost with the other guys, right? So I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. We'll see how it all pans out. God damn. Now, is it going to be the be all end all? Who the fuck knows? But it'd be nice to see. These guys actually do something outside of the WWE and actually be successful outside of the WWE. Is it going to be awesome? Are they going to make as much money in the WWE? Who the fuck knows? But with all these pokers that Ryback has in the fire between the supplements and all the other shit that's going on, let's be honest, it's just it may or may not work out, but at least he's got a chance. He's built up a following on Twitter and everything. So, maybe he can. Who knows? Cody Rhodes is doing it. A few other guys are doing it. Drew Galloway does it. So why not? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the Universal Championship on WWE. Now, because Raw didn't get a big champion, they just have the United States champion, which, whatever. They're going to give them a title to have on there. So, they're not going to bring back the WCW NWA title. They've christened a new title called the Universal title. And it is kind of a goofy name for a title. But that being said, the Shane and Daniel Bryan have had a little bit of fun with it. I've thrown the picture up now in chat. If you aren't in chat, check out Shane McMahon's Twitter. And Shane and Daniel Bryan decided that they were going to have a little fun with the Universal title. And Shane is repping a gigantic U on his belt. Which, I mean, I get it. It's funny in a way. But you're kind of shitting on your own dad's company. But, it is what it is. Now, Addiction just won. Beating Tanahashi and Elgin and Naito and Evil. I thought it was a pretty damn good match, actually. And I'm watching this out of the corner of my eye, but I thought it was a pretty damn good match. I mean, that was like a 3.5 star match. It was good. Now the Ring of Honor is leading into Jay Lethal versus Adam Cole, so I'll be watching that out of the corner of my eye too. Now, there's a bit more information as we lead in to SummerSlam today, a little bit later on today. With a 2-hour pre-show. God, fucking 2 hours. Jesus Christ. Now, here's a couple things that have happened this week. And by a couple, I mean 2 that I give a shit about and 1 that I don't. Del Rio was violated the wellness policy, and then 24 hours later, Paige violated the wellness policy. Now, little backstory here. There's been a lot, and not just dirt sheets like Meltzer and other more like, the people that people consider to be more reputable dirt sheets have also weighed in on this. And a lot of people are saying that Triple H has legit heat with Del Rio. Triple H is a big proponent of Paige in general. He's the one that got her over in the WWE. He's the one that got her the title and everything else when she was in NXT. He's kind of been, since she's been there, allegedly treating her like his little sister. And, Del Rio's much older than she is. He's been married a couple times. Paige has not. She's young, possibly, allegedly impressionable. And so Triple H and Del Rio naturally have heat in the same way as any big brother would have heat with their little sister's boyfriend. But it's gotten to the point where allegedly Del Rio is causing drama backstage, which of course is how he got fired the first time. It all started this way before. When Del Rio got released last time, it all started with Del Rio being grouchy backstage. And then it escalated to the point where he beat the shit out of, I think it was a caterer or was it a writer? But you know what it was? I think it was a writer, and the writer said something racially derivative. Now, that's not an excuse. It's just supposedly what happened, but that led to Del Rio getting shit canned. Now, Del Rio went off to the Indies, to Lucha Underground, to Mexican AAA, to a lot of different little places, and made a ton of money. But he came back. So obviously the WWE is a more stable, reliable source of income. And so he came back, got put into a stable with a bunch of other foreigners. And since then he's probably been bitchy. Now he's dating Paige, and Paige is putting stuff up on her Twitter about her ovaries are aching to see him again or whatever, and like lots of creepy ass shit. But again, like she comes from a long line of carny workers, so this is not all that creepy. This is just, you know, they it's the same thing as me saying fuck every 5 seconds. It's the same shit. Now, during the draft, it's rumored that Triple H broke the pair of them up and put them on different shows to kind of put the cold water on this relationship. But since then, things have not quietened down at all. And Triple H doesn't want Del Rio's contract renewed in October when his contract comes up. But Vince is still big on Del Rio, and possibly because Del Rio fits both the WWE model and brings in a vastly underrepresented demographic. And also because he's got a little MMA experience under his belt, he brings a little quote-unquote credibility in the same way as Brock Lesnar does, I guess, to the sport. So Vince is big on Del Rio. Triple H is not. Triple H doesn't want to renew his contract. So reportedly, Vince is still big on re-signing him. But Del Rio's on a 30-day suspension. So once that's up, he's only got another 6-8 weeks left on his contract. We'll see what happens. I'm not entirely convinced that he's going to be long for the WWE. And if he's not, then maybe Paige leaves with him, which would be a fucking shame. But yeah, no, he was violated on the wellness policy. Now, if you're already getting heat with your boss and then somehow find yourself suspended, no matter what the reason is, the first thought that should probably go through your head is this a message? Am I being made an example of? And considering they got broken up by being put on different brands during the draft anyways, if Del Rio hadn't violated the wellness policy up until this point, and now all of a sudden has violated the wellness policy shortly after this legit heat with Triple H, come on. Now, looking into this, the WWE wellness policy is actually pretty broad. There are banned substances that they do look for, and when you pop one of those substances, then you usually get suspended for X amount of time. Now, Stephanie's been interviewed many times saying that just because you pop positive for something does not mean you're going to be suspended right away. You could be suspended once they're done with whatever you're booked for. So, for example, Eva Marie was booked for a 6-woman tag match at SummerSlam tonight, and yet she's been suspended, which is actually good news for all of us. But they could have legitimately held on to it and not suspended her. That had nothing to do with Del Rio at SummerSlam anyways, really. And Paige is on the disability list anyways, so really the only thing that was affecting their pay-per-view was Eva, and frankly, Eva could be replaced with Nia Jax and no one really give a shit. I mean, let's be honest. Now, that being said, Del Rio gets popped for violating the wellness policy, and like I said, the wellness policy is pretty broad. I mean, there are substances that are going to get you violated, but it's not just drugs and alcohol. The wellness policy also contains a mental health rider on it, and the mental health rider is there for a good reason. I mean, let's remember back to Benoit and other guys that have had concussions and girls that have had concussions that have problems down the line. So if they recognize that there are issues with concussions that are not physical but psychological, they can suspend them for X amount of time so that they can get the help that they need. Now, unfortunately, because the psychological aspect of the wellness policy is so broadly worded, because you never know what you're going to be dealing with. Maybe somebody's had a death in the family, they're super stressed out, and they're just taking it out on everybody. So you want to give them a burn of time out, so you suspend them for 30 days. And you say they violated the wellness policy. That way nobody wonders why they aren't on WWE TV anymore. Now they can say, oh, well, they're suspended. Now, Eva Marie's suspension was revealed to be an Adderall suspension. So she has allegedly has a legitimate prescription for Adderall, but apparently didn't file the paperwork with WWE to have that be on her record. Now, somehow I don't buy that, but I don't care enough because having Eva Marie off of TV is good. It's fine for me. Now, if this wellness policy is being interpreted more broadly and Del Rio has violated the wellness policy, nothing's come out to say what he violated on the wellness policy. No one said whether it's a drug that triggered it. No one's, and usually there's some sort of, like with Roman Reigns, it came out that there was a drug in his system that was a weight loss supplement that triggered his suspension. It's a drug that's on their list of no drugs. And so it popped the suspension, whether it was part of a legitimate weight loss drug or if it was one of those weird pharmaceutical mail order deals. No one really is sure, but because that drug popped, away he goes. Now with Del Rio and with Paige, nothing has come out to say what they violated. So that also leads me to believe that these rumors that I've been hearing that they have popped Del Rio and they've popped Paige for these 30-day suspensions and used the psychological rider on the wellness policy to do so. Who the fuck knows? But it seems pretty legitimate to me considering Paige was already injured. She's not on the active roster right now. She's on the injured list. She's rehabbing her shoulder and her back, and there's possible nerve damage to her neck. The same nerve damage, by the way, that put Daniel Bryan on the shelf. So they're going to take their time bringing her back. But while she's on the injured list, she's getting paid. When you get suspended, you go not paid. These are unpaid suspensions. So if she goes on a 30-day suspension unpaid, it's like slapping somebody with a fine. It's a pretty wrestling thing to do, don't you think? Pretty old school. Slap somebody with a fine in a roundabout way. But who the fuck knows? Oh, honestly. Now, like I said, Del Rio and Paige both got popped on these suspensions. And Eva Marie got popped. Her suspension, her husband took to Twitter and pulled it down right away. Smart man, because he listened to his wife, clearly, who told him to fucking take it down, you moron. Don't comment on my career, bitch. But anyways, her suspension is for Adderall. Could they have maybe held on to it until after after SummerSlam? Sure. I mean, they could have. Absolutely, they could have. Did they want to? Probably not. I mean, let's be honest. The fans are shitting all over her, and the WWE are not stupid. They know this. They know that that her whole gimmick is being just destroyed. Every time she comes out, they're all pissing on her. Like, it's just ridiculous. Now, that match, let me see if I can find it here real quick in the list of matches. There's supposed to be a 6-woman tag, and I'm not seeing it in here. Oh, there we go. So Carmella, Becky Lynch, and Naomi versus Natalya, Alexa Bliss, and now it says to be determined because Eva's on the DL, or on the DL. She's suspended. Now, Natalya's heel, Alexa Bliss is heel, Nia Jax is heel. It's conceivable that Nia Jax gets subbed in here, especially since they're so over on her right now. They want her bad. All right. Now, that being said, again, I don't care that Eva Marie is off television. Her last match was on SmackDown last week. Her quote-unquote wardrobe malfunction was a work, obviously, to build up this 6-woman tag or whatever, 6-woman tag match or whatever. And that's good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. That's a good way to do it. But I was just amused that I was actually kind of amused because so many people were up on Twitter saying that, well, it's, her big fake titties were getting in her way and popped her shirt off and it was legit and everything else. And then other people were saying that it was her trying to, get over more on the modeling career and all that shit. But listen, it's who the fuck cares? I mean, let's be honest. Who the fuck cares? Now, I would be remiss if I hosted a wrestling show and then didn't talk about the biggest thing going on in wrestling this weekend. And it's actually the reason why there's so much wrestling going on this weekend is because of SummerSlam. I mean, it's one of the big four in WWE. And of course, they definitely want her or they definitely want this pay-per-view to be a big deal. And to that end, including the pre-show, there are 13 matches. There's only 10 on the actual pay-per-view. But that being said, they've done, actually, in my opinion anyways, a hell of a job building the pay-per-view up. The only thing they haven't built up is the tag team deal. They've got this weird 12-man tag team match, and it feels like it was just sort of thrown together for no particular reason other than it will eat up a good portion of time. And it pisses me off because there actually are some good matches, good teams in this that I actually want to see having matches together, because the tag team division is huge, and they've got these 6 teams tied up in this pre-show. But I mean, it is what it is. So you've got American Alpha with Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, who I'm a huge fan of. They've done really amazing shit in NXT. I'm desperately hoping that they don't fuck them up on the main roster, that they give them the push that they need to solidify themselves as an actual team. They don't have to win the titles. They just need some time to solidify themselves as a team and not be treated like the Ascension was when they came up to the main roster. I mean, I'll remind you what happened here. The Ascension came up to the main roster, basically did a promo shoot on every tag team in the WWE, and then got their asses kicked for the next 3 or 4 months. And now no one gives a fuck. And yet when they were in NXT, they were the most dominant tag team in NXT, reigned for X amount of whatever the fuck. So they kind of ruined the Ascension, bringing them up. So I'm desperately hoping they don't do this with American Alpha, because I really like American Alpha. I think Jason Jordan has come a fucking hell of a long way from a guy that was petrified to be in front of a crowd, and Chad Gable, who was very outgoing and good around a crowd. You got Jason Jordan now, much more comfortable. He still looks a little uncomfortable, I'll say that, but he's hiding it so well, and he's doing such a good job making it, like, putting the whole team over and everything, and the way that they look and they perform together, and the tandem offense. I fucking love. That's the big thing about tag teams, that if you ever want to get a tag team over with me, tandem offense. That's it. That's all I need. I need tandem offense. That's it. Because it's incredibly difficult to do. It seems so easy, but it's incredibly difficult to have tandem offense and tandem defense. And there are teams that have gone down in history. The Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, the Legion of Doom / Road Warriors, Demolition. I'm even going to throw in the Hall and Nash even had some tandem offense and shit. Not to this extent, but I really love the Rockers. I mean, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, of course. If you want tag teams to get over, that's exactly what you got to do with them, in my opinion. It's just, I mean, the Usos have been doing it for years, and while I'm not a huge fan of the Usos, and I don't know why, I'm just not, they're fantastic. And Canadian Glenn and chat, that's why Gallows and Anderson are so awesome. They have a lot of really fucking amazing looking tandem offense. Now, back to this match. So you've got American Alpha versus American Alpha with the Hype Bros, which is Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley. I fucking hate Mojo Rawley, but whatever, we're stuck with them. And the Usos. And they face off against Breezango, which is Fandango and Tyler Breeze. I love Fandango and I love Tyler Breeze. I don't care that they're in a tag team together. I don't care that it's a comic book character tag team. I don't care that it's goofy, and I don't care if it's hacky and 80s. I just want to see them wrestling more because they're entertaining as fuck. Then they're teaming also with the Ascension and the Vaudevillains, and Vaudevillains are awesome too. I love the Vaudevillains. Aiden English and Simon Gotch are just so good. I love it because they are looking like a throwback to the Carney days of what wrestling was, and yet they're just so fucking hilarious. Anyways, this is like a tag team, 12-man tag team match. I would like to think, as Glenn has said in chat, that this is the whole point of this is to put American Alpha over. I would love for that to be the case. I'm just not convinced that it is the case, because if you want to put American Alpha over, you would put them in a match with Breezango or the Vaudevillains. That's what you would do to put them over, and you'd have a 20-minute match that would be really close. and they'd either get shenanigan fucked out of the win, or they would pull one out and just be the ones that were victorious or whatever. Now, in this 12-man tag team match, do I think one of the two of them is going to get the pin? Absolutely. I mean, they're the new tag team. The Hype Bros have been on TV before. Breezango's been on TV before. All the rest of these guys have been on TV before. They're all established teams. I would like Breezango to be to have a little more of a run, but that being said, I would love to see American Alpha. I don't care if it's Jordan or Gable, get the pin just to start solidifying them as an actual tag team. The first match of a best of 7 series between Cesaro and Sheamus. That's also in the pre-show, which is a fucking sacrilege because Cesaro and Sheamus, I know not everyone likes Sheamus, and I know people are huge on Cesaro, but I like both of them. I think they're both really good wrestlers, and I want to see this on the main card. I don't want this to be on the pre-show, even though I've said it before, and I will say it again. If you're on the pre-show, everyone gets to see your match because it's on the free pre-show, so at least everyone's going to get to see this. My only issue with this is that the best of 7, turning this into a best of 7 series should not have been a throwaway line. It should have been Cesaro goading Sheamus into something and turning it into this and that. Like, do an actual program with it to make it a best of 7 instead of it just being, this weird throw together match type thing. I would have preferred to see it like an actual program or something. That being said, there is another tag team match in the pre-show, Sami Zayn and Neville versus the Dudley Boys. I don't really care who wins this because in my opinion, it's all about being entertained in this one. So I really don't care. I'd like to see Sami Zayn and Neville win, I guess, because I'm a big mark for Sami Zayn, but I don't know. I don't really care who wins because we win, because it's going to be an entertaining as fuck match. It's just a straight up tag team match, no tables and stuff like that. So if there is a table, it'll be a DQ or something. Some shenanigans will go down, I'm sure. Now the main card, in no particular order, because you never know what the order is going to be, because I feel like they change it on the fly. You've got that 6-woman tag match, Carmella, Becky Lynch, Naomi versus Natalya, Alexa Bliss, and I'm going to assume Nia Jax. I'm going to say that Natalya, Alexa Bliss, and Nia Jax are the winners because Nia Jax just keeps winning. Just going to say that. And, yeah. Another match is for the IC title. It's going to be The Miz versus Apollo Crews. Listen, I know a lot of people don't like The Miz, but I do. I don't know why. I just do. I don't like his interview segment, but I like him as a wrestler and I love his promos. I find him entertaining when he does his I'm a Hollywood C-list awesome guy. He even pisses me off, and that's the fucking point. That's what he's supposed to be doing. And so I get it. I'm entertained by that. So, Apollo Crews has not been around long enough to be the champion. So I'm thinking The Miz is going over here and it'll be some shenanigans, I'm sure. But I feel like The Miz is just going to win this one. Would it be interesting to see Apollo Crews win? Yeah, absolutely it would be. I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, then a tag team match is going to have Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. I love Enzo and Cass. They're so fucking entertaining. I get a kick out of them, even if they're just standing still. Now, of course, this just looks, it has the feel of Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens are on the same page until they're not, and Kevin Owens turns on Chris Jericho, and then it leads to a program between Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, which again, we win if that happens, because Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens would be a fucking awesome program to watch. I mean, that'd be great matches and awesome promos. So good. The unfortunate side of that is, though, that Enzo and Cass just aren't going to get a clean win here, which I feel like would really solidify them as a team. But they're being sent to signings and shit. They're legit enough. I guess they don't really need it. Next match is another tag team match. See what I'm saying about tag teams? Love this shit. Even the New Day have tandem shit, and I love that. So the New Day, which is Kofi and Xavier, because Big E is injured, they are defending against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I kind of want to see Gallows and Anderson win, because up until this point, they're just kind of AJ's boys. They're not really doing anything. So I'd like to see them win. Not because I don't like the New Day. I think the New Day are entertaining as hell. I could do without the bootios. I could do without the trombone. I could do without the unicorn horn. The groin motion is funny as hell, though. They got to keep that because it just makes me laugh every time I see it. Then another match is going to have the women's title. Sasha Banks defends against Charlotte. Dana Brooke is barred from ringside, which Ric Flair's there. I mean, we know he's there because we saw him on NXT. So we know that he's there. Is it likely that Ric Flair is going to come down and try to help Charlotte, and then Charlotte's going to be like, no, Dad, go away, and then Charlotte ends up losing because of her dad? Possibly. That's what I think is going to happen anyways. But I'm looking at Sasha Banks to retain here. Rusev versus Roman Reigns. Rusev retains. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Roman being the U.S. champion is WWE's chance to make sure that he gets a chance to get over or whatever. But I just feel like everyone's just... Rusev has been getting cheers during this program, and it's not just fans and smarks shitting on Roman Reigns. There are kids booing Roman Reigns, like little kids, like kids wearing John Cena shit are booing Roman. Like his shit isn't going over at all. But now that he's doing this, I'm just the guy or whatever, and the whole thing with Lana, I think if he does more deliberately, like because when he hit Rusev back into Lana and then she went into the cake and shit, that was an accident. So it wasn't deliberate. If he does more of this shit deliberate, then it'll be a lot more entertaining, a lot more interesting. But I just don't see that happening because they still just keep trying to keep him as a face, even though it's very clear that the fans just aren't taking it as a face. John Cena and AJ Styles, just a straight up singles match. I just feel like they're prepping AJ for, facing off against champions and stuff to keep putting the champions over and everything. And that's what they use John Cena for as well. So in this case, it could be any number of things that happens here. I want to see what AJ can get out of John Cena. People have been bitching about John Cena and his 5 moves of doom for so long, and AJ's just got a plethora of moves that he uses all the time. I want to see what AJ is able to bring out of John Cena. AJ can actually do that jumping on the middle rope into the stunner thing that John Cena tried to do for the longest time. AJ can actually do that, so I'd like to see him break that out and use it because I think it'd be fucking hilarious. But that being said, of course I want to see AJ go over, but I don't know. There's no wrestler that's on the cover of SummerSlam, or at least I've chosen a graphic that doesn't have one on there for a very specific reason. But I don't know. I'm thinking AJ is going over only because as established as AJ is, I just feel like this is going to turn into a longer program. And John Cena really hasn't spent a lot of time on Twitter pumping up this match, which he usually does. Like he's usually on Twitter saying all kinds of shit all fucking week long, and he's like had two posts that I'm sure some fucking intern did for him. So the next one is Dean Ambrose as the champ versus Dolph Ziggler. I don't know. Part of me wants to see Ziggler go over because part of me wants Ziggler to be the champion because I really like Dolph Ziggler. But I think at this point he's just been there so long that he's just like Randy Orton. He's there. People want to see him in matches. People want to be entertained by him, but they don't give a fuck if he's the champion or not at this point. 2 years ago, yeah, absolutely. Now, nobody cares if he's the champion or not. I mean, legitimately. And him being the champion would be great. I mean, it'd be wonderful, but Ambrose and Ziggler are both tweeners, face types. So there's no heel here to keep this, like, heel champions keep programs going a lot longer than face champions. I'm thinking Dean's going to retain just because, I just feel like Dolph gets used on a case-by-case kind of thing. They spent a lot of time with the program. They spent a lot of time doing promos and having run-ins and all kinds of shit. I'm entertained and I want to see the match, but I don't know. I'm thinking Ambrose is going to retain. I think they're just going to keep it on him for a little while longer. Next match is going to be Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. This has been, this is actually for the Universal Championship. The program for this has been just painful to watch. The lead up to Finn Balor being one of the guys in this match was great. The tournament, everything else, that was great. Nothing wrong with that. Seth Rollins being greenlit to go right through to the end, no problem with that. That's basic, the basic wrestling storylines 101. But this program between the two of them, the feud leading up to this match, has been so lackluster. Seth Rollins spent all of Raw looking for Finn Balor as the Demon King. So he wasn't even calling him out as Finn Balor. He was calling him out as the Demon King. It's not confusing. It's just stupid. I mean, I understand Finn Balor is going to come as the Demon, and I understand that Finn Balor as the Demon is undefeated. But I think that they're going to make a big deal out of this. Seth Rollins is going to win, and then the announce team is going to make a big deal out of it during the match of Finn Balor as the Demon King has never lost. And whenever they bring up the Demon King, I always think of like the Labyrinth with David Bowie. And the sock in the crotch and the fucked up hair, and I'm not getting what they're doing with it. They could have come up with something a little bit better for the name of it, but whatever. Seth Rollins, I think, is going to go over, be the Universal Champion, and that's it. And then, of course, to the steaming pile of shit that this match is going to be. And listen, Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton. I have zero problem with Randy Orton as a wrestler. I think he's a fantastic wrestler. I have zero problem with Brock Lesnar as an MMA fighter. I think he's a fucking awesome MMA fighter. I have zero problem with Brock Lesnar as a human being. He's always been super fucking nice every time I've ever seen him. Just super nice. That being said, Brock Lesnar as a wrestler pisses me off because the suplexes are done so fucking painfully. Like, they are New Japan level stiff suplexes, and the guys that he faced get dumped on their shoulders and their back of their heads all the fucking time. And here's the thing, Randy Orton just got back, shoulder injury again. This is only like the 50th fucking shoulder injury he's had. He's going to go in the ring with Brock Lesnar, who's going to drop him on the back of his head 15 times. And he's going to walk out and he's going to get hurt. And that kind of shit, that actually pisses me off more than who's going to win or lose. I could give a shit who's going to win or lose, really, because at the end of the day, it's when guys get hurt that I get pissed off. I mean, let's be honest here. There's not a lot for Brock Lesnar to do, and he's on those appearance contracts, so it's not like Randy Orton can win and they can have a return bout or whatever the fuck. If Randy Orton wins, they're next going to have the next return bout at the next major pay-per-view. They're not going to go to, it's not Battleground, I guess. It'd be the one after that. But they're not going to go there. They're just going to kick it down the line 4 months from now, and no one's going to care again. So Brock Lesnar's obviously going to win. Sorry. It sucks, but that's what's going to happen. Now, before I go off the air, I just watched Adam Cole win. I don't know. I like Adam Cole. He's really small for a champion, but I like him. I think he's a good wrestler, and that match was actually pretty fucking amazing. I gave that one a 4 out of 5. That was good. So that's going to be it for me this week. I know I've gone a little over time. Whatever. I'm trying to make it about an hour. Sometimes that ain't going to work. But that's it for me this week, and we'll see you animals again next week. Make sure you check out markoutradio.com. There's very little ads. There's one ad. It's for Bluehost. And if you ever want a website, I love Bluehost. I've been using them forever. And they hit me up and said, do you want to be a fucking affiliate or do you want to be a partner? I said, sure, why the fuck not? So if you ever wanted to have your own website, off you go, and just click one of the links there. It'd be great. Now, that being said, there's also the Twitter and the Facebook and all that shit. Go show those a follow and a liking and shit, and spread the word around, and share the episode with other wrestling fans that want to be pissed off. It'll be awesome.
Well, that was an abortion of a show. Should the mood take you, check out markoutradio.com and leave a comment. You can also find links there to our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Stitcher channels. You can even leave a voicemail on our Skype. Just click the links and share them.